What's up, guys? It's me, Tiff, and Sam Bankman-Fried's testimony has officially concluded, and his cross-examination has officially begun, and boy is he struggling. Overall, high level, it looks like Sam Bankman-Fried's strategy is essentially saying he doesn't remember anything. When asked difficult questions, or even not so difficult questions like, do you remember saying this in an interview, it sounds like Sam's go-to responses are, I don't recall, or no, but I may have, or I don't specifically remember that, or I don't know exactly what you're referring to there, or just, I don't remember. When the government then proceeds to pull up hard evidence of him making certain statements or signing specific documents, Sam will then say things like, well, I'm not saying that I didn't say that, or I vaguely remember that, or I don't remember that. So he basically just seems unwilling to give a straight answer or take any responsibility for things that he said or did, and is instead just going the route of being incredibly evasive and cagey and difficult and overall quite unlikable. Throughout Sam's cross-examination, I even added little notes like, I want to smack him and dickhead. I can't imagine any members of the jury reading this favorably. I will also say that Sam being unwilling to admit to broad statements that he's clearly made, like stating that FTX is a safe exchange, to which he's responded that he does not recall making any statements like that, even though he very clearly has, in my opinion, absolutely damages his credibility and every word out of his mouth. If you watched yesterday's video, which I actually do recommend because this is sort of a continuation of yesterday's video on Sam's testimony, then you'll know that Sam created a sort of he said, she said, where Sam was giving his retelling of very specific conversations and key moments throughout FTX's history, and his retelling of events often drastically conflicted with other people's retelling of the same events. But to then be questioned about pretty broad public statements that we have evidence that he's made, and for him to respond that he has no recollection of ever making those statements, I don't see how he expects any of us to believe his side of the story and his retelling of events when he's simultaneously claiming to not remember anything. So that is just my broad feeling of how today went, and I just got home from court, so I guess we can now dive into some more specifics. During Sam's cross-examination, we got to dive into some of his public post-collapse interviews that he definitely should not have done. Brief pause, but this coverage is made possible by support from Evertas. Evertas is the first company in the world to provide insurance solutions for crypto and mining infrastructure. And Evertas is a Lloyd's of London cover holder, which means their policies are A+ rated. Ask your broker how Evertas can help you manage your risk and protect your enterprise, or visit evertas.com. Now back to the video. We looked at his Good Morning America interview, his New York Times Dealbook interview, his Financial Times interview, his Bloomberg interview, his Kelsey Piper interview, which Sam says was not really an interview and was not meant to be made public, and his Mario Nawfal Twitter Spaces interview. Thankfully, my name has not been brought up in court yet, so hopefully it stays that way. So the trajectory of this line of questioning basically boiled down to Danielle Sassoon, the prosecutor, asking Sam if he remembered making a statement in one of these post-collapse interviews, and Sam basically reverting to saying, I don't recall, I don't remember making that statement, and the prosecutor proceeding to pull up government exhibit A, B, or C of Sam making that exact statement. This would sometimes be a written article, or audio of an interview, or video of Sam actually talking in that interview making that statement. And after viewing this exhibit in court, Sam would say something like, I vaguely remember that statement, or yeah, that sounds like me. And I don't even know why Sam bothered with this whole shtick, because first of all, it was incredibly frustrating to watch. And secondly, just putting myself in the juror's shoes, if this guy is being dishonest about or unable to admit to statements that we have clear, hard evidence for, how are we supposed to believe his answers to tougher questions like, did you knowingly steal FTX customer funds? Needless to say, Sam is now learning why he should not have done these post-collapse interviews. We then went into more broad statements that SBF made about FTX and Alameda during his time owning both companies. He was very broadly asked, do you remember marketing FTX as safe? And he said, I don't specifically remember that. So the prosecutor had to broaden the question and say, do you recall making public statements to the effect of FTX is safe? You know, without using those exact words. And Sam responded, I don't recall, I may have. I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to. I can't think of a specific one off the top of my head. To which Judge Lewis Kaplan was notably at his wit's end with Sam and said, just answer the question. The issue is not what she's referring to. But even after Judge Kaplan's scolding, Sam responded, I don't remember a general statement to that effect. I'm not sure there was one. And I think it's obvious to anyone who has ever seen any marketing for FTX that they obviously marketed it as a safe exchange. Sam seemed to want to distinguish that he only marketed FTX US as safe, but I'm pretty sure he's often just broadly marketed FTX as safe. But maybe that's the least of his problems right now. Danielle Sassoon's questions were all pretty rapid fire, and I think you can tell how most of this went, but I'll just go over some of the highlights. Sam was asked whether or not he called people on crypto Twitter dumb motherfuckers, to which he responded, a certain subset of them, yes. Oh, and this one was fun, and I tweeted it, but apparently Sam Bankman-Fried spent $15 million flying on private jets, and Danielle Sassoon asked if Sam Bankman-Fried flew to the Super Bowl on a private jet. He said, I don't recall how I got there. And Danielle Sassoon said, is that because you flew on private jets so frequently? I thought that was pretty savage. Shout out to Danielle Sassoon. Anyway, I guess I don't need to reiterate how Sam responded to each of these questions because I think you get the gist. I did think Sam had one tiny little win, but it's not even that big of a win. But prosecutor Danielle Sassoon pointed out that in general, a customer had to have collateral on the exchange in order to withdraw. For example, other customers wouldn't be able to offer up a house they owned or funds on another exchange as collateral on FTX. So Danielle Sassoon basically asked Sam to confirm whether or not Alameda Research was the only customer that was able to pledge off-exchange assets as collateral, to which Sam Bankman-Fried actually had an answer locked and loaded. Apparently some company called Crypto Lotus was also able to do so, but obviously at a much smaller scale. It did seem like this answer caught prosecutors off guard, and it sort of helped Sam a little bit, just showing that this specific thing wasn't an only Alameda Research privilege. I guess one other customer had this privilege. I'd also like to add that Sam became visibly agitated and snappy with the prosecutor as she questioned him. There were moments that I wrote he's giving attitude to the prosecutor. So this was just kind of a funny moment where you could see Sam Bankman-Fried's blood boiling. Danielle Sassoon asks, yes or no, you made public statements that your liquidation engine would prevent clawbacks. Sam Bankman-Fried responds, I don't remember saying it with exactly that phrasing. The prosecutor asks, did you say it in words or in substance? And Sam says, with a qualifier, yes. And Danielle Sassoon proceeds to pull up Government Exhibit 2534, turns to page 6 and says, do you see at the top where it says, how is FTX solving these issues? Sam says, mm-hmm. And she says, and what does it say underneath that? And Sam says, preventing clawbacks, that it significantly reduced the likelihood of clawbacks. And the prosecutor says, Mr. Bankman-Fried, what are the two words under the question of how is FTX solving these issues? And in this moment, Sam just very obviously turned on the sass. It's hard to relay from notes, but Sam was like, the first word is preventing, the second word is clawbacks. It was very sassy. I wish you were there. I'm sorry, I'm not a great actress. He was just being so condescending and it was very amusing. A lot of us laughed at that. But the thing is, and I've said this in previous videos, but I think that Sam is not used to being cornered about questions like this. Sam is used to dealing with journalists, and when there's a question he doesn't want to answer, he'll launch into some long-winded explanation that's overly technical and not quite answer the question and hope no one notices, or he'll answer a slightly different question that he's more comfortable actually answering. But I feel like he's never really been cornered like this by a very competent prosecutor, and he is not enjoying it one bit. I also just don't think being snappy or giving attitude to a prosecutor when being asked very straightforward questions about your business in which you allegedly stole $8 billion of customer funds is really a good look. I think Sam needs to cool it with the attitude. It is wildly unlikable, and I know that likability shouldn't be a big deal here, but it looks like the facts aren't necessarily on his side, and if he wants to win over one juror, he should kind of focus on being at least remotely likable and maybe come off as a bit less of an evasive little dickhead. The inability to admit to having clearly made some public statements that we have hard evidence of in court just overall gives the impression of dishonesty. I sincerely don't understand how Sam expects anyone to believe his side of the story after that. So anyway, that was obviously a pretty high-level overview. I obviously didn't go over every single question that Sam was asked during cross-examination because they all pretty much went the same trajectory as I just explained. But cross-examination isn't over, so I'm expecting tomorrow to be a full day of even more cross-examination. information. So I am in New York City covering Sam Bankman-Fried's criminal trial live, and it will not be televised, so I've been posting updates here on YouTube, on Twitter, on Substack, etc. If you'd like to follow along, feel free to. If not, it's fine. I will be back in court tomorrow, so I will talk to you all very, very soon. I hope I can get a little bit of sleep tonight. Also, again, thank you to Evertas for making this coverage possible. To learn more about how Evertas's insurance products and services can help crypto companies protect their enterprises and manage their risk, ask your broker or visit evertas.com. Anyway, I love you all so very much, and I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye!